bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is
Professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
Good morning. It is a raining Tuesday morning. You're tuned in to the Business Morning Live Show right here on BusinessDay Television. And of course, we've got a packed morning ahead, starting with the morning news, where we move to the newspaper review and bring you conversations on business and the latest development. And then we'll wrap up with the social listening. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be the morning news on Business Morning Live. Just stay with us.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium BusinessDay. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
And you're welcome back to the Business Morning live show right here on Business Day Television. Now let's see what's making the headlines. Petrol price seen falling to 800 naira as marketers sign new deal with Dangote. Tinubu orders FCCPC to probe big tech firms. An Accountant General contradicts presidency over alleged fake agency. And Nigeria's electricity subsidy bill rises to 358 billion naira despite blackouts. Now let's begin the news as petrol prices could drop to about 800 naira per litre following a new supply agreement between independent marketers and Dangote Petroleum Refinery aimed at improving product availability and reducing distribution costs. The deal is expected to strengthen direct supply from the refinery to marketers, reducing reliance on imports and helping to ease pressure on pump prices. Industry operators say increased local refining capacity and improved distribution could encourage greater competition in the downstream sector. Market analysts, however, note that the extent of any price reduction would depend on factors such as crude oil prices, foreign exchange movements, transportation costs, and government policy. They say while the agreement is a positive development, sustained lower prices will require stable market conditions and consistent supply. Moving on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, to investigate the activities of major technology companies over concerns about market dominance and consumer protection. The president said the probe is aimed at ensuring that digital platforms operate fairly, promote healthy competition, and do not engage in practices that undermine consumer rights or disadvantage smaller businesses. The FCCPC is expected to examine whether the companies are abusing their market position through anti-competition practices, unfair pricing, or other conduct that could limit consumer choice and innovation. The move is part of the federal government's broader effort to strengthen competition, improve market regulation, and protect Nigerian consumers in the rapidly growing digital economy. And in other news, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has contradicted claims by the presidency over an alleged fake government agency, stating that the entity does not maintain any accounts with the Central Bank of Nigeria. The clarification follows reports alleging that the agency had operated government accounts despite not being legally recognized. The Accountant General's office said its records show no evidence that the agency owns or has operated any accounts with the central bank. The development highlights conflicting positions within the federal government over controversy, with the Accountant General insisting that public funds can only be managed through duly authorized accounts in line with existing financial regulations. The clarification is expected to fuel further scrutiny of the allegation and the management of public finances. And so, in the news, Nigeria's electricity subsidy bill rose to 358 billion naira in recent months, highlighting the growing cost of sustaining power tariffs despite persistent electricity shortages and frequent blackouts across the country. The rising subsidy reflects the widening gap between the actual cost of electricity generation and the tariffs paid by consumers, with the federal government continuing to absorb the difference to cushion households and businesses. Despite the increased spending, power supply has remained unstable, with many Nigerians still experiencing prolonged outages. Industry stakeholders say the growing subsidy burden raises concern about the financial sustainability of the power sector and underscores the need for reform to improve electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. And that does it this morning on the Business Day Television Business Morning Live Show. I am Deborah Eze. Up next is the newspaper review. Just stay with us.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All the way from Ghana. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
Now you're welcome back. This is a newspaper review segment, and this is where we explore the major stories making the headlines across the nation's newspaper. I'm still your host, Deborah Eze, and of course, we're going to be reading through the papers and bringing to you what the dailies are saying this morning. And our first stop this morning is going to be the Business Day. Of course, we'll take a look at what the front page of the Business Day, the Guardian, the Punch, and also the Vanguard are reporting this morning before we round off with the cartoon of the day. Now, kicking off with the Business Day newspaper, as the story on the front page of the Business Day newspaper this morning reads, petrol price seen crashing to 800 naira as marketers sign new deal with Dangote. I'm going to take that again. Petrol price seen crashing to 800 naira as marketers sign new deal. And still on the Business Day newspaper, Tinubu orders probe of Meta, Google, X over alleged exploitation of media content. Tinubu orders probe of Meta, Google, and X over alleged exploitation of media content. And you can find that story on page 34 of the Business Day newspaper. And still on the Business Day newspaper, Nigeria's tycoon Elumelu to step down as UBA chair after 12 years. And that is on page 33 of the Business Day newspaper. And also how fake agency scandal exposed cracks in lawmakers' oversight function. And that is on page 24 of the Business Day newspaper. And of course, finally, on the Business Day newspaper, we have foreign investors pull back from equity deals amid T1 settlement concerns. And that is also on page 24 of the Business Day newspaper. We then move to the Punch newspaper. I'll focus on the Punch newspaper. The big story on the Punch newspaper this morning reads, fake agency scandal, presidency under pressure as police arrest Adeyemi's father. And the writer to that story, police action triggers legal backlash as NBA president Sands condemns substituted arrest. And also, Accountant General says PFIPC received no funds. Senate absolves Akpabio. And also, senators meet today, insist 1.3 billion naira controversial allocation from executive, not NAS. You can find the story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And below the Punch newspaper, we have marketers push 800 naira petrol, seek import licenses, and that is on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And also outrage as Russian strike kills Korean-based Nigerian medical student, and that is on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. UBA names Nurum chairman as Elumelu bows out, and that is on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And at the top of the Punch newspaper, we have South Africa crisis. Federal government extends evacuation, 270 more expected. You can get that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And we have Tinubu orders probe of Meta, Google AI platform, and that is on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Still on the Punch newspaper, 10 Kwara APC governors aspirants protest against Abdul Razak, and that is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Finally, on the Punch, we have Army vows to defeat foreign jihadists at borders. You can get a knack of that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And now moving to the Vanguard newspaper, the big story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning reads, PFIPC controversy, how SGF's office cleared Adeyemi for Canada summit. Troubling pattern of scandal now too frequent, and that's coming from article. Presidency can't escape accountability over Gbajabiamila's claim, and that is from PDP. And Serap asks Akpabio Abbas to explain 1.3 billion naira allocation to Fisher's PFIPC. You can get that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. At the top of the Vanguard newspaper, we have federal government denies spending 8 trillion naira outside budgets. Obi asks Tinubu to resign over spending. And that is on page 9 of the Vanguard. And insecurity soaring, operational cost, others stole ICT boom. And that is on page 11 of the Vanguard. Oyo school abduction, rescue operation ongoing. And that is coming from the COAS. And that story is on page 29. Zamfara won't negotiate with terrorists. And that's coming from Governor Lawal. And that is on page 45. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, below the Vanguard, we have US to closely monitor 2027 polls. And that is coming from Congressman Riley Moore. Xenophobia, federal government condemns killing of 2 Nigerians, demand justice. And that is on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. And also NDLEA intercepts Malaysia-born cocaine, nabs PhD student mastermind. And that is on page 6 of the Vanguard. And finally, on the Vanguard newspaper, we have 2027 polls, parties rush to meet INEC or I meet INEX uploading deadline, and that is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. So quickly, let's move to the Guardian newspaper. The big story on the Guardian this morning reads, despite gluts, local cement price nearly doubles Africa's average. Despite cement gluts, local cement price nearly doubles Africa's average. And below the Guardian newspaper, we have ADC accuses federal government of pushing 17 million Nigerians into acute hunger. And that is on page 29. And also Vatican envoy Sultan meets at National Mosque, warn against extremism. And that is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And 10 killed, 1 injured in fresh attacks on Plateau, Niger communities. And that is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. And we have Nurum to take over from Ilumelu as UBA chairman. And that is on page 18 of the Guardian newspaper. PFIPC scandal draws in OAGF, Falana, Ogbomosho leaders in fresh twist. And that is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Still below the Guardian newspaper, we have federal government probes anti-competitive practices by Meta, Google, X against Nigerian media. And that is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. At the top of the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu unveils strategy to defeat terrorists, modernize armed forces, and that is on page 3. Federal government offers Nigerians final evacuation. Nance gives South Africans ultimatum to leave, and that is on page 5 of the Guardian. Finally, on the Guardian newspaper, federal government insists on fuel price slash at meeting with Dangote Refinery and marketers, and that is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's take a look at what we have on the cartoon of the day. The Business Day cartoon of the day, we have a football pitch, coincidentally with the World Cup, I must say, with Ronaldo. The likes of Kayode are actually very pissed with Ronaldo, but this time around we don't have Ronaldo. We have Tinubu, on someone that looks like Tinubu on the goalpost, and then we can see several balls flying towards him, and he's quite confused on which it would catch. And he said, once I find loan, they will know I am a good keeper. And each of the balls stands for corruption, debt, poverty, flawed. We have job losses, we have insecurity, we have power failure, bad roads, and inflation. I'm going to leave you, our viewers, to draw your conclusion on what the cartoon is trying to say. But this is where we wrap it up on the newspaper review this morning. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, the Business Morning Live continues. Just stay with us.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
The government of Japan has donated $853,000 in food assistance to the United Nations Food Programme, WFP, to strengthen humanitarian support for vulnerable communities in northeast Nigeria. According to the WFP, the donation comes at a critical time as millions of people across Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states continue to face severe food insecurities caused by years of conflict, displacements, climate shocks, and rising food prices. The WFP says the funding will help sustain emergency food assistance for families struggling to meet their daily food needs. The organization also noted that food assistance not only addresses hunger, but also helps improve community stability by reducing the risk associated with displacement and insecurity. The agency called on other international partners to support ongoing humanitarian efforts, warning that worsening economic conditions and persistent insecurity continue to increase the number of people in need of assistance. According to the projection by United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and other humanitarian partners, about 34.7 million Nigerians could face acute food insecurity during the 2026 lean season, highlighting the urgent need for sustained international support. Japan's latest contribution will support the WFP's ongoing emergency food assistance program aimed at helping vulnerable households rebuild their lives while easing the humanitarian crisis in northeast Nigeria. As food insecurity continues to threaten millions of lives, sustained collaboration between governments, humanitarian organizations, and development partners will remain essential to addressing immediate needs and building long-term resilience in affected communities.
Welcome back. This is Business Day Television, and we're bringing you Business Week. Before we went on break, we were talking about the matter of the so-called fake federal agency for international investment. And before we close that conversation, question I'd like to ask is this the only one? Are there some others that have not been exposed, even if they are fake?
I think what this has done is to raise, this very question you've asked, that there are probably other agencies out there that are not, and so that's why we're digging now more than ever to just find, if at all there are any type of these agencies, find them out and see if they've been allocated any amount of any significant funds in the budget. But for me, this agency, this so-called Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, whatever it is, How successful has it been? I mean, it was set up in 2024. How much have we got in FDI? Yeah, the same work that is supposed to be. I mean, but that's another matter anyway.
We don't know the reason why it was set up.
Yeah, so it tells you that it wasn't to do the real work, but for something else, and that is the real indictment.
In fact, my own question is, how many agencies do we have in the country?
And does the government know?
That's the thing. How many do we
The National Assembly, do they know? Can they account for all of them?
Yeah, and that's the problem you have when you have a rubber stamp National Assembly. It's the same thing. Yeah,
this National Assembly, and I said it the other day. Yeah. This National Assembly would be perhaps the worst National Assembly since this republic.
Absolutely. Whether it's the matter of the IMF flagging the unreported spending in the budget, or the coastal highway budget,
the presidential aircraft that was acquired without appropriation.
Yeah. So
you have a litany of these stories.
Yeah.
It's because of the kind of people we have in that House of Assembly. Now, when you see them talk about some relevant and serious stuff, that's why they're mockery now. People don't take them serious again.
What a pity! It's people mock them, but unfortunately, we are spilling a lot of cash on the National Assembly. The annual budget for the National Assembly is so humongous that it's a pity that the country gets absolutely nothing in terms of value.
For how much you're spending on that.
In fact, the IMF should not even just stop at federal, they should go to states. States they are less transparent compared to the federal government. If you look at the state's budget, you will not see a breakdown. Maybe, for example, capital expenditure, you will just see budgeted and actual. You will not see a breakdown.
Where did the money go? How was it utilized?
You will not see
so is the attempt at breaking these things down that exposes the
exactly. When you break it down, you are able to stop those gaps.
Or as
you will not do that.
Anyway, all right. We will keep talking about this until we get to the end of it. What is clear, this could not have happened without a very high level of complicity. No question about it. And I mean a high level of complicity in the federal government. This is not just a dream or a nightmare. It is real. And as we have said here, it takes away some of the shine in terms of reputation for Nigeria and indeed this government. Now let's go on to the matter of T+1. We have seen significant correction in share prices. We don't even know whether it has ended. We have seen comments from the international agency that had primed Nigeria for upgrade, FTSE, and then we have seen comments from the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's so much confusion, but perhaps so much pain as well. So Lolade, please help to shine light on this madness.
The whole idea behind the T+1, I mean, a very landmark development really when it was implemented in June. It was supposed to see to it that stock transactions are initiated and completed within 24 hours, right? So that's the whole idea of T+1, and that would have, it would have been the fastest
which in
time for settlement in Africa. Yes, absolutely good. If you look at the structure of the market today and the role that retail investors are increasingly playing in the market, then you would understand why the MGX thought it right to introduce this, because retail investors need fast settlement. You need cash right now. You need to buy something and you want to be able to sell your stocks, and then you get the money credited to your account almost immediately. So you would understand that. But the truth is, while there's been some winners from that, from that new regulation, it's also impacted foreign investors, and it's simple to see why. Because for a foreign investor, you have to go through a global custodian. You have a custodian who houses your funds for you and makes your investments. The custodian will partner with local custodians in Nigeria. So typically when you want to buy shares, you go through your global custodian. He alerts the local custodian. You fund your Naira account. You make the purchase, and all of that process takes more than 24 hours, right? So the hiccup for them then became, okay, so if you want to align with the T+1 settlement time, it means that you need to pre-fund your Naira account even before you're sure which stocks or what you want to do with the money. But you have You have to have naira in your account already, so that once the information is given to the custodian,
then the local custodian
can always just because the account in naira has been funded, right? So but the problem is a lot of foreign investors do not want to hold naira.
To sit their cash in naira.
Precisely, because you can't take away the fact that these foreign investors have had their fingers burnt in the past by just holding naira.
So in effect, we are not at that level.
We are not at that level yet.
For them to pack cash in naira.
Precisely. So that's the problem we're facing. So a lot of them would rather just say, you know what, I don't want to hold any naira, but I cannot conclude this process in 24 hours.
So when you've spotted this now, didn't the Nigerian Exchange Limited, didn't they notice?
No, of course they do, but they don't see any reason why you can't refund your account with naira.
But
that's their own.
These are foreign investors.
Yeah. And they also make the point that foreign investors now contribute very little compared to what they were contributing in 2014 to trades in the market.
So what's the point? Is it that we stay at that low level, or is it that we want to attract more?
Precisely, we want to attract
more. Then you have to.
That's the argument. So you have to do the right things, create the right environment for them to come in.
Yeah. Could it also be the reason, also apart from the profit taking that's affected the market cap? Could that have affected the market cap?
No, of course. You know what will happen once the NGX releases data on the what's it called now? Transactions, right? Accounted for by domestic and foreign. You would likely notice that there will be a decline, in foreign transactions. But the truth is, the month of June was a bloodbath. Nigerian stocks, 13 trillion wiped out of market cap. You can't put that solely down to T+1. Of course, there was a lot of profit taking. People who had waited, and typically you see this.
There's a summer, people want to pay school fees.
Precisely. At the end of the first half of the year, people are, reevaluating their portfolios, they are selling down, they are taking a lot of profit.
And there were also speculations about people making plans for Dangote
refinery as well. So that's,
so it's not all about T+1.
No, it's all about that. But that also has had some sort of impact on foreign influence.
If they not take note about this, right? My own is, what happens to the FPI flows we got in Q1? Q1 we got about almost $10 billion.
Yeah, but that didn't go to equities. It went to bonds.
90%.
So what's for Q2 now?
So if this hiccup is not resolved, it will keep a lot of foreign investors away from the market.
So
I got deep pockets.
I think for me,
they have huge pockets more than the local guys. Naira devaluation also helped too. Sorry, sir. The Naira devaluation also helped too.
Yes. So, I think for me, the objective was to switch the heavy dependence on domestic equity investors by attracting foreign investors. And the effect has been opposite. So the question you then ask is two questions for me. Was there wide consultation before the T+1? And then secondly, Lolade, now that we are in a crisis, what do we do?
Good. So to the first question, there was consultation, but it was limited. From what I heard, because we spoke to a number of foreign investors for a story that we put out last week, just looking at the impact it had on them, and they said they were not fairly consulted. But there was a lot of consultation with the domestic investors who were happy with it anyway. For them, faster settlement means that
the local custodians for the foreign investors would have been there as well. Flag.
But at that time, they didn't see any reason why the foreign investors might balk at the idea of pre-funding their account with Naira.
Right.
Yes, until this happened. But you should have thought about it.
Now this goes back to the CBN. It means that we cannot stop and just go on clapping for ourselves. There is still reticence among foreign investors about bringing in their money. So we need to begin to think about what more you can do to build confidence in foreign investors.
Absolutely.
But the question that I asked you was,
what next?
Where do we go from here?
Truth is, if you look at it, I don't think the Nigerian market has that infrastructure for now. We've talked about.
So do we suspend
I think maybe if we have a situation where T+1 works for local investors, and then we revert back to T+2 for the foreign investors, then that buys us time to just build confidence. If these foreign investors keep trading in the market, they see that, oh, whenever I need to pull out my money, I can do that easily. Then they start to have more confidence in the naira, because the naira has been stable for a while now. So if you have that situation, then that confidence would gradually come back up, and they can do that.
And the reason why
I think they shouldn't be treated the same way.
And the reason why I think they should even act this fact, because it's in a way it may dampen how the H2 outlook will be in terms of FDI investment. I mean, we've talked about the T+1, we've talked about the fake agency, we've talked about the IMF.
So there's so much of headwind, and we need to begin
to. When it comes to foreign investment, because if foreign guys cannot really trade like that, the transaction, the number of time of frequency of transaction will reduce. And what happens? That affects
what I think.
When it affects liquidity, it affects the pressure on the naira. And we're back to
what I think. The person who would have been most, well, maybe not be most concerned about this news, but who would have been significantly bothered about this news would be Dangote, given that his IPO is coming up soon, and he wants foreign participation. So I'm sure now that he's going to be looking and thinking, no, this is bad. What's going on here? Whatever it is, it's important that foreign, because those are the guys with the deep pockets.
Exactly, they have the money.
The naira has been devalued, like you said earlier. It's about 1,003 now to $1. They've got deep pockets. They can significantly move the market if they come in mass.
So
and this FTSE inclusion was like the biggest factor, driving H2 outlook.
Okay, all right. We would have to leave it here. Two things I've heard. The FTSE upgrade was meant to be the biggest thing that had happened to the Nigerian equities market for a long time. And the NGX and the Securities and Exchange Commission have their work cut out. They must walk this back and find a way to resolve this.
Absolutely.
That's one. Secondly, is the part about the lesson we take from this. When next we issue guidelines that have significant impact like this, we need to have proper consultation. But it's not just proper consultation. There's no hurry to say it should start now. Perhaps you say it will start in 6 months. In that 6 months, it gives you time to
make changes
if changes if you must. But the affliction of the military and the matter of with immediate effect has been a big problem in Nigeria. And I hope that especially financial organizations like the NGX and the others will take note of this. Before we go today, we will like to just look at half-year performance of African economies. And we see some bright spots, we see some not so bright spots. So looking at growth, looking at inflation, and looking at outlook for H2, Bumi, you would have to take the lead.
Okay, so when I try to see how H1 how Africa has, especially when you had the Iran war that started in March, but now there's a ceasefire, I would say it affected a lot of African countries. I mean, in the aspect of inflation, we talked about Zambia becoming the major bright spot, and we have Angola too. But what is interesting in South Africa, even though we talked about the fact that their inflation rate actually surged in like maybe the highest in almost 2 years or so, we've been able to see in May inflation rose to about 4.4%, but it's what the pace of growth or increase was less than when you compare to the like 4.0% in April. So, and the reason why is that when the Iran war kicked in March, Ramaphosa, what he did was to reduce or suspend fuel tax imports. Right. Yes, because I heard that South Africa also has a refinery, but it doesn't produce.
It doesn't produce enough.
100,000 barrels. So he had to stop that fuel import tax so that it would not feed into inflationary pressures. Already, the South African Reserve Bank already has said that okay, they've been cutting rates, right? I mean, last year was a year of, I would say, massive aggressive rates cutting cycle for many African countries. This year they were going to continue that trend, but the Iran was a setback. Exactly, because many people were believing that when you reduce interest rates, access to credits, and then improve economic activities, there was this optimism. But the Iran war affected it. So
what other economies? So
you have Kenya too. So interestingly, Kenya also, like South Africa, they actually recorded a decline in inflation rate for the first time this year. And what was interesting for me is, although I don't think they actually called for tax and for import tax. Yeah, so I think it's majorly because of there's more food production has increased and more of just an harvesting. But
okay, so that had to cushion the fuel.
Yeah. So, but one another thing that we actually look at is also in terms of currency. Another one. So the major bright spots, well, Nigeria. That's why we retained our spot as the best performing stock market because of how our naira stabilized. You know. And then
we benefited essentially from local production of
So that was why I'm saying that if this is not taken care of, it would affect ranking that Nigeria has actually gotten. I mean, I talked about how the fact that Nigeria has been the top performer since June, even when we had that sale, right? So, and then apart from this,
so what you're doing now is that you're listing out the winners: South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. The metrics you're using the currency, you're using inflation.
Yes.
What about GDP growth?
Yes, PMI too. Although GDP for Q1 for many African countries is not out yet, but there was I think there's something you sent to me, yes, over the week. And what I would normally do is a PI, Purchasing Manager Index, because it closely relates to the GDP. So what I actually found out in May, before the whole before June data comes out, I discovered that in May, out of 8 African countries, 5 of them contracted.
Interesting.
And in April, that's 3. And then in March, that's 2.
Interesting.
Just for our viewers to understand the relationship between PMI and GDP. So PMI is like a leading indicator, right?
Exactly.
That's flapping sign you want to expect from GDP.
After the survey, so it's a survey done by Stanbic to actually gauge how economic activity
what do you think the economy is doing?
So that is what they actually did. But
so that provides an early signal.
Yeah, but interestingly, in June, South Africa and Kenya expanded.
Interesting. Where is Ghana in all of this?
Ghana. So Ghana is still, I would say, at 50. They've not changed. They've not moved. They are also being impacted by the Iran war. I mean, I was even surprised to see that in terms of performance in currency, they've depreciated year to date, maybe roughly around close to
maybe they're from a very high base because we know that
they're significant appreciation.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think maybe it's the base effect that actually, because I was actually surprised why they are among the worst performing. Yeah, and Zambia, of course, in fact, I would say that Zambia it should be the winner. It might be the winner.
My only worry, Zambia, now if you talk about Zambia, I'm thinking about copper exports, right? Mostly what is supporting the currency. So my only worry now is that if you look at a lot of these African countries, most of them are still heavily reliant on raw commodities.
But many of them are now trying to, like I talked about yesterday, they're now trying to move from a resource-based economy to agro-processing, which is what they are doing. I talked about how Congo, for example, if you look at the FDI, the charts that we did last week, we saw Ethiopia, we saw DRC, imagine, we saw Cote d'Ivoire, able to pull those investments. What does that say? So they are beginning to understand that, foreign investors, they're actually interested in us. Let us do more. Do you understand? By moving from just having the raw
commodities to adding some value.
And there's actually a chart where shows that natural resources are high demand. The one you sent to me also, how many foreign guys are now talking about how Africa is resource rich, So they've now realized that if we continue to export these raw materials, we'll lose out. Now, another emerging trend that I'm seeing happening is gold.
And it's not just about gold. It's the fact that many of the countries are making noise about processing and I think that's going to help even if it's just in
another thing that worries me is Guinea, for example. They stopped exporting their gold resources. Some of these countries have stopped exporting their resources. And I asked my question, is this a good thing? Even though we're trying to be self-reliant.
I think it's good.
How will it not affect
it's going to drive prices higher. It's going to bring interest in local processing, which is what I think.
It will drive industrialization. It's 3 jobs for the people.
So you can see they are really being thorough. They are really.
And that's how come they're able to attract foreign direct investment.
Exactly. So that's what they are doing. Although
because that's the only new thing they can do now.
Although by tomorrow, UNCTAD will release their World Investment Report for last year. So it will be interesting to see
what
Nigeria
it
has
is.
done other African
Fantastic. In terms of closing out on this, final comments from Lolade and then
Yes. I mean, for me, I just think that the matters involving the IMF and the fake council, I mean, it's such a mess. It takes away from all of the gains that the positive image that we're trying to build for ourselves as a country.
So we have
whether it's to fellow Nigerians or it's to outsiders, investors, and all of that, it's just a mess, and it just widens that trust deficit. And yes, the government has a duty to quickly resolve this and just ensure that this type of things don't happen again in the future.
Thank you. Bumi, final word?
So, for me, I just think these bad events that have happened, the frequency of the bad events in just 1 week, it says a lot, especially for not only for FDI, for FPI also.
Yeah.
I feel that if this is not tackled, our outlook for investments or even outlook for next year will just be dim.
Fantastic. All right. We hope that our conversation today on the fake federal government agency will provoke action by the National Assembly. This has really brought their reputation to the carpet. If they care, they ought to sit up. The leadership of the National Assembly has been precisely a disgrace. And we expect that if they are to command that name, that they will do something. Government needs to ensure that gains that it has from the reforms are not dissipated away in these very negative stories. Next week, we're going to talk about the huge solid minerals found by Nigeria. What does it mean? And we will also be looking at outlook for H2, not just for Nigeria, but for African economies as well. That's where we will bring our program today, Business Week, to an end. I hope you have enjoyed it. We will, of course, be here again on Monday with a fresh edition. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
The government of Japan has donated $853,000 in food assistance to the United Nations Food Program, WFP, to strengthen humanitarian support for vulnerable communities in northeast Nigeria. According to the WFP, the donation comes at a critical time as millions of people across Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states continue to face severe food insecurities caused by years of conflict, displacements, climate shocks, and rising food prices. The WFP says the funding will help sustain emergency food assistance for families struggling to meet their daily food needs. The organization also noted that food assistance not only addresses hunger, but also helps improve community stability by reducing the risk associated with displacement and insecurity. The agency called on other international partners to support ongoing humanitarian efforts, warning that worsening economic conditions and persistent insecurity continue to increase the number of people in need of assistance. According to the projection by United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and other humanitarian partners, about 34.7 million Nigerians could face acute food insecurity during the 2026 lean season, highlighting the urgent need for sustained international support. Japan's latest contribution will support the WFP's ongoing emergency food assistance program aimed at helping vulnerable households rebuild their lives while easing the humanitarian crisis in northeast Nigeria. As food insecurity continues to threaten millions of lives, sustained collaboration between governments, humanitarian organizations, and development partners will remain essential to addressing immediate needs and building long-term resilience in affected communities.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
And you're welcome back to the Business Morning Live Show right here on Business Day Television. Now let's move to our conversation this morning, and it's great to have you with us. Now, first conversation this morning, Nigeria's inflation rate is expected to remain unchanged at 15.9% in June, according to analysts, after months of moderation following the rebasing of the consumer price index. While the slowdown has raised hopes that inflation may be easing, many households and businesses say the cost of food, transportation, and other essentials remain stubbornly high. So what is really driving inflation at this stage, and what does it mean for consumers, businesses, and monetary policy? To help us unpack the outlook, we're joined by Musa Sanusi Ahmed, is a principal trade media company. Thank you for joining us this morning, Musa. It's really good to have you on our Business Morning Live show.
Thank you, Deborah, for having me.
All right, let's get into it. Analysts expect Nigeria's inflation rate to hold steady at 15.9% in June. So what are the major factors supporting this projection, and what does a flat reading actually tell us about the economy?
Yeah, basically the flat reading is telling us that we are stable and not that much is changing with regard to our market index and the inflation itself. And likewise, we have a lot of pressure facing the market, and there are a lot of concerns and bottlenecks which have nothing to do with fiscal policy, rather more of a structural concern. And because as the inflation increases or decrease, Nigerians are finding it very hard to understand what is exactly going, especially since last year is revision. There are a lot of pressure facing the market, especially the informal market, and the affordability rate of so many Nigerians, which Nigerians always understand the inflation or disinflation when it comes to the affordability. And again, there are a lot of pressures since the coming of this new administration, especially late Buhari and this administration. The earnings of Nigeria, the wages of Nigerians are not coming hand in hand with the way the economy is growing or not growing. So that creates a lot of gaps between maybe the market prices and also the affordability of many Nigerians. So the gap is widening and widening, and that is why the reading is almost stabilized, because the affordability rates cannot distort the basic law of economy, which is demand and supply.
So while official inflation figures have moderated, right, many Nigerians insist the prices are still rising. So how do we reconcile the statistics with the everyday experiences of the consumers?
That is basically the concern when you are trying to document the Nigerian economic data, because if that gap is widening between lived economy and the fiscal economy and even monetary policies, you are creating a situation whereby the economy is tanking itself, and is creating a situation whereby the inflation is increasing slowly, and the prices will keep increasing slowly without even the economists and the analysts even recognizing. Only the typical Nigerian man, a Nigerian citizen, could understand that this thing is increasing slowly, and without creating any hard pressure for the market to recognize. And before you know, the data will keep tanking, and that comes down to affect the investors. Because the investors, the foreign direct investors and other local investors, every day they used to buy treasury bills and bonds as a way of saying that, okay, we are on the safer hand. Whatever happens, we are on the safer hand. And likewise, the NPC are trying to see how they can create a security discipline for our monetary policy. And they have tried for almost 2 years. They have tried to see how they can stabilize the forex, which is one of the most important thing as we speak today. A Nigerian market want a stable forex market, which is not possible to be held for a longer time, because the structural concerns are really growing, which is the insecurity, which affects the farming communities, our logistical concern, road infrastructure, storage warehouse, and other bottlenecks, which we have tried. We have tried much during the crisis in Iran-US crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. We have tried very well. Our MPC have tried in trying to curtail that situation. We have not faced a lot of challenges during that time. Nigerians were able to take care of it. Even when the energy costs have increased with almost, I think we got an increase of almost 100 naira during that time. But the economy, the market, and even the Nigerians were able to hold the situation very, 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 very tight. And the gap, if care is not being taken, I know in this coming, the next MPC that will happen maybe 2020 or 21st, Kadusa and his team will have a lot of concerns to make sure that we are beginning to come to the election spending cycle, which in Nigerian culture is a cycle that resulted in money getting into the market, and a lot of Nigerians see money everywhere and money begin to cycle. So if that situation happened in according to the Nigerian economic culture that presents itself every election spending cycle, then after the election, we may have to face a lot of inflation, and all this inflation we are seeing throughout this year, it may be affected, and MPC will find it very hard to hold and curtail the situation.
All right,
if the election spending period have really sync with the way the culture has been.
All right, Musa, let's look at food inflation. We know that remains one of the biggest concerns for household, for you and I. So what structural issues do you think continue to keep food prices elevated? And speak to us about the immediate intervention that could make a difference.
I think the immediate intervention by the government is all about security concern. If we could be able to solve our security concern by trying to curtail all this insecurity affecting the Northwest, which in Northwest has been one of the biggest agricultural producing destination in Nigeria, and even all other part of Nigeria, Southwest, they are producing a lot of food for Nigeria. So if we could be able to make an intervention where we secure those destinations and farmers got back to their normal routine and the production rate increases, this is a big intervention. And secondly, we have to find a way to encourage exporting of all other agricultural products and other mineral resources that we have. Now we may got a pressure to say that we must add value to our mineral resources or agricultural product before export. But the economy have not prepared for this. In the last 10 years, there are a lot of call that we should prepare for such a value-added situation so that we could be exporting something with added value. But at this situation, we have to just encourage export of those materials and agricultural goods, minerals, chemicals, everything that we can export in a high quantity. We should encourage that. That could help us to plug in resources back into the country. And likewise, the Forex market. The Forex is a high, if we cannot find a situation to see how we can control the Forex, we can easily consume foreign inflations into our country, because a weaker Naira cannot compete with a stronger USD or a Euro and other foreign exchange. So we should create a situation whereby we are getting a lot of dollars, a lot of foreign exchange into our own country. And also this can only happen when Cardosa need to humble himself. Talk to Bureau de Change operators, listen to them and see how they can help him stabilize. Because all the Bureau de Change practitioners have already found an alternative market whereby they continue doing their business. In fact, a new market of professional money laundering have opened because of the hardened situation Kadusa made for the Bureau de Change operators. He need to call them back, listen to them, and see how they can help him stabilize Nigerian economy and give the economy better. And lastly, the infrastructural challenge. In Nigeria, when we are talking of food supply, we have to talk about Lagos Port and we have to talk about North. And one of the best routes we get access to the not get access to the south, to the Lagos port of Port Harcourt, is through Niger Kwara axis. I mean, Minna to Kwara road. If the government, it is too late, we don't know what will happen in the next 1 year, but if they could invest a lot in seeing how can fast-track construction and the construction of this highway from Niger to Ibadan, it could really help the economy, and it could fast-track production and supply, perfected the supply chain. And likewise, we are talking of a lot of technological gap, payment gap. All these things are things that slowed money inflow into the country. Our transfer operators are facing a lot of challenges, payment gateways. So we need to find a way to cut away all these bottlenecks. But first of them all is insecurity, and also we need to find a way to work on our flooding, our drainage system, the national drainage system. In fact, if there is any way, the government need to set up a committee or a team that will design this drainage system, so we can have a very perfect irrigation system and drainage system that will really curtail the flooding in the country. Because now in Taraba, in some part of Jos, even some part of Southwest and East, that are already experiencing flooding, and we don't know what will happen in Northwest in the coming weeks ahead as the rainy season presents itself.
So, to what extent exchange rate movement? Let's talk about exchange rate movement now. To what extent do you think exchange rate movement, energy cost, and also transportation expenses are still feeding into inflation? And which of this actually poses as the biggest risk in the months ahead?
There are a lot of risks. The one that poses the biggest risk is the forex, because we have a very lower certainty when it comes to forex exchange. The lower the certainty is, the higher the crisis may present itself. Because we are already in Nigeria now, we are not we are not in a crisis era, forex crisis. We're in a forex management situation. And in this era of management, a single mistake will take us back to the time machine, and it will become a time bomb. Because we have issue pharmaceuticals and other fertilizer, other machineries, heavy machineries, and a lot of stuff that we are importing. In Nigeria, we are even importing textiles, electronics, cars, and other stuff. All these things we are importing them. And healthcare industry is not something we can excuse. Other things is excusable, but we cannot excuse healthcare and medicals. So all these pharmaceutical things that we import is a need forex. So if Nigerian government didn't find a way to manage forex very well, and managing forex is all about our export capacity. The higher our export capacity is increasing, the higher the high chance of we could be able to handle our forex market. But at this moment, the biggest one that poses a threat is the forex, because the minute the forex starts depreciating, because now it's appreciating a little, because we are even expecting that if it continues on this trend, before the end of this year, we may see something at 1,280 or even around that angle, if it continues appreciating that way. But as we speak, if by any chance it starts depreciating, the ripple effect will just get into the country anyhow. Price inflation will start getting high, and the situation will start to get out of hand. And in Nigeria, the minute forex disrupt the economy, the energy market pick up that thing, and the inflation in the energy costs increase. And also, before you know, the electricity utility people will start saying that we cannot afford diesel, we cannot afford this. Then the costs start increasing, And then you can start seeing that the construction people, the highway constructors and the contractors will start saying, okay, diesel increase, so we need to renegotiate the prices. And then the inflation will affect construction, and where you see that construction from all across the country were stopped because of the diesel. And that happened just recently during the Strait of Hormuz shocks, that a lot of contractors says that we stopped doing the work because of the energy. So you can see that the train will continue. The cost of medics, pharmaceuticals will increase, the cost of getting heavy machineries, the cost of production for a lot of manufacturing hubs in Nigeria and even economic zones will increase, the cost of energy, electricity, everything will increase. So the Forex is one of the biggest things we need to curtail. And one of the biggest way to curtail the Forex challenge is to increase and perfect it and make our export efficient. Find a way to just make sure that we are exporting. It is already late that we say that we must add value into our export. Just export the raw, you get a lot of money, then you start structuring yourself. Give yourself 5 to 10 years, then you start adding value. But if you rush yourself to add value, your economy will be attacked, disrupted, and be grounded. So it's almost, the challenge is all about seeing how we can bring in money. Because now, you can see that every day the federal government is saying that we have higher number of foreign direct investment. And the reason why this foreign direct investment is coming is because of the high interest rate. Today we are giving interest rate at almost 26.5. And just of recent, we have even given it at 27.5. And all this happened in less than 4 years. Because 2022, the interest rate is around 11.5. So the reason why a lot of people are buying treasury bills, bonds, is because of that. And the foreign direct investment coming to the country is still because of that. But if the money comes into the country, the value of the money diminishes. We are just talking about $1 billion, $3 billion and all this coming into the country. But the minute they landed in the country, they get into the economy, they liquidate it. So we have a very larger situation that the MPC needs to understand, that we need to create a situation whereby the fiscal and structural reforms were hand in hand and they are coordinated. And because if they are not coordinated, nothing could happen. The minute we get Forex, the thing affected energy, the energy affected transport, affected logistics, that thing affected other cost of day-to-day needs. So believe me, Forex is the biggest elephant that we need to curtail, and the only answer that we can have is let's export more, export more, export more. Perfected exports, make export the easiest thing a Nigerian businessman can do, even if it is just exporting to our neighboring countries or down to Ivory Coast or Central African Republic and North Africa.
All right. Finally, Musa, before I let you go, what do you think businesses and also investors, even the ordinary Nigerians, what do you think they should expect over the next 6 to 12 months? Do you think we're genuinely on the path to lower inflation, or should also prepare for, a more continued pressure on the cost of living?
I think we should just say it straight. The worst is ahead of us. But if the election spending cycle culture stands as it used to be, there are a lot of things that it will help curtail. But even at that, after the election cycle spending goes, the bad stuff will start presenting itself. But as we speak, that the train of disinflation is expected to keep going, even though this July we may see the inflation goes to like 16.1 and even 16.304. That means it will increase, not disinflate. So I anticipate that the inflation will just continue disinflating. But in the longer run, if all the structural reform were not taken care of, especially insecurity and other export incentives were not put in place, and stop disrupting ourselves by saying that we must add value before export, I'm telling you, the inflation will keep increasing and the affordability rate will keep becoming very worse. And as we speak, I don't know what the Nigerian level is doing, but the Nigerian level, if by chance Nigerian level get pressured and tanked into a situation that they can no longer handle the economy and start pressuring government for increase in wages, the thing will completely go out of hand. And I'm telling you, the MPC will have a nightmare. And this nightmare may not come this year, it may come after the election.
Right. Thank you very much, Musa. It was really good to have you on our Business Morning Live.
Thank you, Deborah, for having me.
All right, we're on to Musa Sanusi Ahmed, is the principal of Trade Media Company. But still here, still to come after the break, we're going to be examining leading business transformation in a changing economy. Just stay with us.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine. I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
As fuel prices continue to rise, more Nigerians are beginning to consider electric vehicles as a cheaper alternative to traditional petrol-powered cars. To understand what electric vehicle ownership really looks like, Business Day visited the Kore EV charging station, located inside the Federal Palace Hotel grounds in Victoria Island, Lagos. As electric vehicle adoption gathers pace, Lagos now has over 20 public EV charging stations, making it easier for motorists to own and charge electric vehicles across the state. We spoke with the station attendant and 2 EV drivers.
My name is Adedeji Adedayoluwasei. I work for Kore Mobility and I'm a charge station manager there.
Who shared practical insights on charging times, running costs, and what prospective owners should know before making the switch.
Okay, this is a fast charge. So we have the slow charge, we have the fast charge. The fast charge is DC, the slow charge is AC. So for a fast charge, it depends on the type of cars. I've charged a Cybertruck that charged up to like 3 hours, 100%. And we can charge like a Javan car within 2 hours or 1 hour 30 minutes, it's done charging. So it depends on the type of, a BYD can charge for like 2 hours, 30 minutes or 2 hours. So it depends on the type of cars. But for fast charge, it's much more faster. And slow charge can take like maybe 5 hours to 6 hours to charge fully. And a lot of cars come here to charge, apart from the cars we own, which is the Cab Zero. So we have a lot of private cars coming to charge. So it's a very busy location. In a day, we do about maybe 12 private cars, apart from, because we have a lot of Cab Zero coming to charge. So overall per se, we do like maybe 35 to 40 cars to charge, and including the private cars also.
Charging of this vehicle is not taking much time, maybe 1 hour, 35 minutes for the full charging. The price is fair. This model is 2025 model, BYD, build your dream, actually. We have no issue, no changing of oil, no changing of oil filter, nothing. So it's just a rotors and battery that construct everything. Maybe only the tires, the brake oil, that's the only thing that we can make change of.
To charge the electric vehicle is 500 naira per kilowatt. This is Caspian though. For this Caspian, it takes like maybe 35 kilowatts or 40 kilowatts to get full. That's 20,000. If it's for business, once they charge like this full, so they can come back the next day to come and charge. Personal, you can use this for like maybe 1 week to 3 days. Full electric is much more preferable. Fuel is very, very expensive now. Charging is not even as expensive as fuel in your car. But for this one, you can charge for like maybe 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, and it can last you for a whole week. For personal use, it can last for a whole week. I'm not even talking about business. So this one, when it comes to the maintenance and the whole package of the car, is much more preferable than petrol car. In Kore, we sell electric vehicles. So what comes with buying vehicles from Kore is we also offer maintenance. So we're also responsible to maintain your cars for you. So the maintenance is like maybe the battery. They'll check the battery of the car. It's a very, very strong battery. So the longevity is very, very strong. It's much more preferable compared to fuel.
Electric vehicle is cost effective, very easy to maintain. You don't need to buy fuel. Hybrid is more costly than electric vehicle. Go for electric because it doesn't give problem. I've been driving an electric vehicle about a year now, and there has been any complaint since. The only thing is that you gauge tire, change tire twice. That was only the maintenance done so far. Electric vehicle moves faster, very, very fast. There are modes of driving. We have standard, we have sports, and we have eco. You can choose. If you are traveling, as if you are traveling from Lagos to Ibadan now, you can choose. You can be on sport. Then that means you are flying.
While electric vehicles may require a higher initial investment, many drivers believe the lower operating costs make them a worthwhile option in today's economy. Akemi Niobong reporting for Business Day. For more insights on electric vehicles, visit premium.businessday.ng. Would you choose an electric vehicle, a hybrid, or a petrol-powered car? Let us know in the comments.
What we've been doing, since I was appointed, I probably sent out initial Nigerian music industry roadmap to about 100 stakeholders who are players in the industry, from bankers and investors, label owners, rights owners, major artists, publishers, platforms, radio and TV companies. And we got like a 90% revert. Everybody was pretty much aligned that these are the things we need to do. So when we're trying to architect those things we need to do, what we now said is, okay, look, foundationally, we need to have a Nigerian Music Business Council, which sort of takes possession of the music industry and owns certain key things. So we want to have a National Center of Excellence for Music, which is a tertiary level institution that can graduate up to 1,000 plus every year in undergraduate, master's, PhD, and diplomas, and postgraduate diplomas, because we need to canonize the music. We need to understand that our music is over 1,000 years old, and that value and that heritage and culture is extremely important. If you don't do the academic work, if you don't storify, if you don't canonize it, it will never be given the same level as European classical music. And you must do that to get to that level. When you get to that level, that's how you can monetize at the same level.
Ownership and fair is two different things. It's like when we come together to create a business, there's masters and there's publishing. What we own most times is a small chunk of masters would normally don't own publishing. So the artists already have 100. So if you own 90, the artist still owns 110 over you. So sometimes I feel like we have to communicate better because it's misleading and might create problems. But I think the future is partnership, where we come together and partner together. The whole era of who owns, who doesn't own is moving with the times, but ownership is what the future says. When you think about the framework of partnership, you understand what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. If the artist controls his creative, because that's why you have them, why do you want to dampen the creativity? Your job is to advise and bring your own best to the table, while let the artists do what they do, which are their creatives. You let them thrive. And the goal for us is we're creating an ecosystem where we let artists create freely.
K-pop industry, I guess, right, the playlist is quiet, right, just right, it's a slow, but, when people, consume with education, I mean, like, who just like learned Afrobeat or learn K-pop, and then they just like knows their, knowledge is, they just gain their knowledge, and then it gets, more deeper, and that can be the depths with our K-pop, because the higher education is so upper class in South Korea. Maybe like 70% of like people just go to university and then just learn everything. So that's why like we can just like I teach also K-pop too. So like I can just like give them, and then they just like have some infrastructure, and then from that like they just like consume with the K-pop by learning, and that would be just like I can give you guys just like the point of view.
As the artist, the only thing you should look out for is a lawyer that will critically review the agreement on your behalf. And as an entertainment lawyer, or rather as an artist, the questions you should ask your lawyer is duration. How long are you tied to that agreement? What happens after the termination or expiration of the agreement? What are the post-termination or expiration terms of the agreement? For a performing artist, for instance, do you have a reversion right? Does your rights come back to you after a certain period of time? What's on the table for you? What are you making out of the agreement? Also, what are your obligations? Just so that you're double sure. There are things that you can actually meet, and then that's it basically. Just once you have all of that and a few others, you're good.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning. Let's now move to our first conversation this morning. If you've ever visited a website on your phone only to find tiny text, broken layouts, or buttons that simply don't work, chances are you didn't stay for long. That's exactly why businesses today can no longer afford to ignore mobile users. With smartphones now accounting for the majority of internet traffic, having a website that works seamlessly across all devices isn't just a nice feature. It's essential for customer experience, brand credibility, and business growth. And joining us to discuss why mobile-friendly websites have become a necessity is front-end developer Abdul Kabir Musa. Good morning, Musa. It's good to have you on the Business Morning Show.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, to begin with, what exactly makes a website mobile friendly and why is it so important today?
Yeah. To put it in a single word, a mobile friendly website is a website that it's completely easy to access, and it is friendly to access whether you are using it on a mobile phone or a tablet or a desktop. It doesn't matter. So it should users should have equal experience accessing such kind of website within different devices. So, and when user clicks a certain button, it should actually work. When user navigate, it should actually navigate. Fonts should actually be easier to access, and completely many other features, because there are tons of features that actually contribute to a perfectly responsive website or friendly website. So we'll be discussing a lot along the way. So that's just the simply put of it.
You know, we've seen a dramatic rise in smartphone usage. So how has this changed the way businesses should approach their online presence?
Yeah, when it comes to websites, when it comes to businesses presenting their businesses on the web on their personal websites, so there are tons of ways of how they should present their website, in the sense that a website, it's no longer an optional tool for a business, for a standard business. So it's one of the roots, or one of the roots that contribute to how businesses present itself, and how their customers can value them. So it's very important. It's very important that a businesses shouldn't think of a website or their personal website as an optional or as an alternative. It's something that they need to take as much as important, very important, as the way they take their businesses on the social platform, because there's a lot of businesses out there that think of website as an optional tool, and they just feel like social platforms is the right way to go to present your business, whereas both sides are very important, and they shouldn't think of their business website as something that is optional.
So speak to us about the impacts that, you know, a responsive website have on customer engagement and ultimately on sales.
Please, can you come again?
Yeah, I said speak to us about the impacts that a responsive website have on customer engagement and also on sales.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways a responsive website contributes to business and sales. So first thing to start with, when a user or a customer, because in terms of developer we call everybody users. So when a user comes to visit your website and first thing they tries to load a website and it's taking like a minute to load, we have different kind of users. Such kind of delay, just a minute for the first page to load, it can really get some user frustrated and leave your website. So it contributed a lot. Assuming now that you have a good and tangible with a good price on your website, so on your business website, right? So users don't actually get to see that because they got frustrated about the page load, the first point of the website. So first thing, that issue has silently died. The business owner won't know about it. And the second thing is that the business owner has lost another customer due to the fact that their business, their website takes longer to load. So it contributes a lot to it. What I just briefed now as showcase how it contributes to a business and how it contributes to a sales, because business owner just lost a sales they should have gotten from a customer with that day. So and that such kind of user might not come back to visit that website because the experience is there. I feel the person will feel like, oh, I've already visited that website. The website is extremely slow. So in such kind of case, the customer will just go to a competitor. So and when the competitor has much more good experience, like the page loads faster, they can easily navigate within the website. So that experience stick to user, and user will feel like this is my sure plug. Whenever I go there, it's a one click and everything is done within some few milliseconds. So that experience is different. Everybody has this. So that experience, nobody will try and will try to be using a tool that takes up to 10 minutes. And when there is a better tool that takes within 2 minutes, and the experience is completely different. But this one is faster, and this one is slow. A business owner should look into their personal website, their business website, and make sure that they contribute a lot, like they invest a lot and monitor their personal website so that it can become very fast and they can easily convert user with the websites.
So, do you think a poorly optimized mobile website can actually drive customers away? If so, explain to us how that is possible.
Yeah, poorly customized, right?
Optimized, yes, please.
Yeah, so poorly optimized website it can easily drive customers away because when we are talking about optimization it's more about like the page loads slower, like the website isn't fully responsive on whether desktop, tablet, or mobile. It's not fully responsive in the sense that whether user have to scroll in horizontal axis just to see some button or some overflowing text. Some button isn't easily, you can't click some button easily, or the fonts are too small. So all these characteristics contribute to an optimized non-optimized website. So in such kind of case, when page load slower, user will get frustrated and can easily leave the website, and they might never return to such kind of website. So and when text is very small, we have different eyesight. I don't know how I'm going to put that. So we have some users that they don't like a very tiny text on a website, so they can't see, like these are our old moms, so they can't easily see a very tiny text on a website. So when they visit such kind of website and they see that this text is very small for them to read, they just leave the website immediately. So such kind of thing, for a business owner who needs all customers that visit their website to actually convert to a sales for them. So they need to take all these characteristics into contribution, or they need to take everything into account when they are building a sustainable website. So they need to think of how the font looks and many other things, and and make sure that buttons are actually clicking. And when you look at this experience, whether users have already selected the product and they click on the checkout button, then the checkout button doesn't work. So immediately, such kind of user will never return to such kind of website, because that experience will stick to them. They'll feel like, I've already clicked on the checkout button, the website is not working. So such kind of thing can actually drive away customers, and eventually they are also losing a lot of sales. So that's complete optimization of websites. And when we talk about optimization is not a one-time stuff. Like, you have to do it one time and just forget it and just keep the website running. So that's not it. It requires continuous contribution or continuous maintainability of the website. So you have to keep checking the website regularly, page speed load, text button functionalities, and how text are and other things are being presented, so that you will business owner will always make sure that they are giving their customer the best. So
So what would you say are the most common mistakes that these businesses make when they're designing or trying to maintain their websites?
yes, one of the common mistakes most business owner makes is that most of them think of desktop first, and some also think of beautiful, like how it looks. And when you look at people that have real business solutions in mind, they really don't think about how the website looks at first. They only think about how does how will the user experience feel like how users feel when they are using their tool, how users feel like when they navigate within the platform. And now let's think of this scenario whereby user want to check out, then they have to take like 10 steps, like 10 actions before they can check out within your website or within your business. So that actually is weird, because when user immediately see what they want to actually get or what they actually want to buy, they just want a up to 2 clicks and everything is done. So but your website is trying to frustrate users. So that actually is a bad experience totally. So users doesn't need, or they doesn't want such kind of thing. And when you look deeply into it, businesses users, when building a standard business for a real user. So that's very important, because building a website is not about thinking about yourself and how you are going to use it. You need to think about how your users are going to use it, because we know we have different kind of users out there. So you have to take different experiences into, or different data into consideration, how this user will feel when using this product, how this user will feel when using it. So it's very or highly very important that we need to consider different users' perspective when using our product, so that we can give them the best experience. So your users don't have to get frustrated when using your product, and they can easily locate or find what they're actually looking for. So most of business owners, they did a lot of issues by thinking the product is being built for them, whereas they didn't consider that their end users are the one that will be using it, and they are the one that will be paying for the product actually. So because that's actually why I said building a product is not about thinking about yourself. You need to consider how user experience it, how users feel about things, how they think of different things, because users saying things on the website, they think of different things. So some people might see a button and they feel like, oh, this, when I click this button, it actually takes me somewhere, or it actually does something. So all these things, they are very tiny thing. So but for a business owner, they have to take everything into factor when building a highly scalable user experience when for their product. So that's just highly it.
Some small business owners, they believe that having a social media page is more than enough for them, do you think they still need a dedicated website, even when their social media page is doing the job?
Yes, I highly believe that both end is actually very important. Having a social media platform where they can express their product, and having their own personal website, both is very highly important, because social media is great for visibility and conversion, but you don't actually own that platform. The rules can change overnight. An algorithm update can bury your post. So an account can get suspended anytime when we look into it. So because you can't, we have a lot of accounts that a lot of people have experiences, even though personal socials, like different people have experienced different things on social media platforms. So you did not actually own the website. So for example, or for instance, on Facebook, you didn't nobody Facebook is owned by Meta, so businesses are just there to express and just give their businesses visibility. So, but that's not the case when it comes to a website, because a website is like a real estate you completely control. So it also build more credibility, because when you a serious customer will often check if you have a proper website. So they will often check if you have a proper website here. So before they fully trust a business. So when but within our Nigeria here, most people just see people on socials, but in a standard or for a standard business that has that has their own personal website. So people trust such kind of business far more than a website than a business that just have their presence or their visibility within the social space. So, and I always tell people, use social media to bring people in, but have a website to convert and keep them. Yes, because when we look into it, the data on on your social platform are being owned by the platform itself. Like for on Facebook, the data, everything, all conversions are being displayed and owned by Meta. But when you have your own personal website, you can own user data, track it, analyze it, and know how user behaves within your website and does a lot of things. Because when you have data, you have everything. So that's just it.
Right. Beyond responsive designs, because we've been all about designs, what other feature do you think businesses should prioritize to improve the mobile user experience?
Yeah, first thing is page speed is huge. Nobody waits for a slow website. So clear, simple navigation matters too. So people should find what they need in 2 or 3 steps. So within 2 or 3 steps, they should find whatever they are looking for within your website. So, and we have call to action button. Call to action button should be present on your website. So WhatsApp chats integration, if you want something like that, like you just want people to get straight to you on your WhatsApp or just chat you up. So all these things are very important. So an easy to find location or direction makes a big difference here. It makes a big difference, yes. So assuming now that it's a physical place and user just wants a map location, so that it can direct them to your shops or your location. So it's all these things are to be considered, and they are also one of the way to give your users great experience when using your product. Yeah. If I had to leave business owner with just one thing, don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the perfect time. So start now, even with small improvements. So your website is often the very first impression a potential customer has of your business. So, and in today's world, that first impression happens on a phone screen. It happens on a phone screen. So, get that right. and everything else, trust, sales, growth, become so much easier. So that is, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your insight, Abdul Kabir Musa. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you too.
All right, of course, we'll be speaking to front-end developer Abdul Kabir Musa, and that's been our focus today on Business Morning. The Breakfast Show continues with the big story after this break. Just stay tuned.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
Business Morning live show, still on our line of conversations this morning. We're examining state police and we're looking at if Nigerian states are ready. As Nigeria moves closer to adopting state police, the national conversation is shifting. The debate is no longer just about whether states should have their own police forces, but whether they have the financial strength, institutional capacity, and governance structures to sustain them. Will state police improve security, or could it create new challenges for the country? And joining us to examine this is public affairs analyst Damian Ajayi. Good morning, Damian. It's good to have you.
Yeah, good morning. It's good to have you.
All right, let's go straight into it. State police has been one of Nigeria's most debated security reform. Now that it appears closer, what do you think this moment represents for the Nigeria security architecture?
Well, interestingly, like you said, it poses a lot of challenges, just like it poses a lot of opportunities too. The argument has been pro and against. And for people who are proponents of state police, the arguments have been security challenges and weak, inefficient policing system in Nigeria. But also people who are against it are talking about the governors abusing it in a sense, and political office holders abusing it in a sense. And they are right to say that, because if you look at it from our historical and political narrative, they have a good reason to say that. But like I said, it poses a lot of opportunities and it poses a lot of challenges. And how we are able to weave around these opportunities or challenges as they may present themselves will determine whether in the long run it is a good idea. Yeah, it is a good idea generally. Why? I think that we need a lot of working. We need a lot of policy think through so that we can get the best out of it. That is my humble opinion. And I think that as much as we begin to involve stakeholders and different sectors of the Nigerian political circle, it will give us a better perspective as to how we intend to go about it.
So do you think that the conversation has now shifted from whether Nigeria should have state police to whether states are actually ready to establish and also sustain their own police services?
Well, whether Nigeria should have state police system, I mean, what some people call decentralized police system, it's in the affirmative. But I think the second question is whether Nigeria is ready for a decentralized police system. In this case, state policing is another question entirely. And in my humble opinion, I don't think we are ready because, yes, it is important that, that we build an efficient policing network. It is also true that if you look at the World Internal Security Policing Index, Nigeria is about 122 out of 125 countries, and in Africa we are about, we are close to the to inefficient, low-ranking policing countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So I think that yes, our policing system is, has a lot of institutional challenges, inefficiency, corruption, and all that. Whether we are ready is something I don't think we are, because if you look at, what is bedeviling the federal police, structure, who are supposed to be the ones to babysit the state police, we see that there's so much to be desired. And I think, there should be, more robust discussion and engagements and consultations around these issues so that we can get the best out of it. But I don't think, as it is today, with the state of the Nigerian police force today, with the state of the political instability in the country today, I don't think we are ready. Because just like former President Obasanjo just said, the issues in the First Republic are still potent today in modern Nigeria.
So we understand that since the conversation of state policing, has been on and about, one of the biggest concerns is funding, because policing requires continuous investment in personnel, in equipment, also training and operations. So do you think most Nigerian states are financially equipped for this responsibility?
Well, I don't think so. I think there'll be a lot of physical and funding incapacities in this respect. Because if you look at the indices, the criteria for measuring efficiency police system, according to World Internal Security and Policing System, you're talking about capacity, you're talking about process, you're talking about legitimacy, then you're talking about outcomes. In terms of capacity, we're talking about funding, you're talking about personnel, you're talking in terms of processing, talking about training, professionalism, and all those things. And now, what we by decentralizing the police system into state policing, what we are talking now is more funding, more personnel training, more institutional framework, which a lot of states, cannot handle, because as it is today, we know that a lot of states are battling, with paying salaries, doing infrastructural projects, and a lot of issues. So to break that on, it's going to be a lot of burden. But that is not even an issue, because if you look at the USA, for instance, where they practice, multi-layer policing, the federal is always there to fund, states or local government that are incapable of funding themselves in certain areas. But beyond that discussion is, is the framework, is the financial autonomy, within the system, is the political structure. Don't forget that we've practiced state policing before in terms of regional policing and the national and the native authority, kind of policing. We saw how it went. So,
so we know that let me say reports has actually shown that only a handful of states have strong internally generated revenue, while many still rely heavily on federal allocations. Now, do you think every state should be allowed to establish its own police force at the same time?
Well, like the proposal we're seeing on the table, it is said that there'll be a national police council that will set the standard, that will build the framework and set the standard upon which the state police, can operate. I looking at that from that framework, I don't think every state can do it at the same time, because that would be a lot of work even for the National Police Council and various states in terms of capital funding, institutional framework and training. But I think that yes, some states may have the financial muscle to take it on, but I think a lot of more states do not have the financial muscle to take it on. And if you look back at our history, you will see that in the First Republic, the regions were in charge of their revenue. They remitted to the federal government. They took a large part of it and they remitted to the federal government, which is not the same in this case. Now, it's the federal government that is remitting to states. So I think that in itself will create a lot of financial bottlenecks for the states. How they intend to go about it is going to be something to watch. I hope at the end of the day, taxpayers, the people, the ordinary Nigerians like me will not bear the burden.
So beyond funding, let's move away from funding now. Critics fear that state police could be abused by governors for political purposes. How valid do you think these concerns are, and what safeguards are needed to prevent such abuse?
It's a germane concern. It's a germane concern. If you look at the way the political instability, if you look at the way the political class, especially the governors, the states, and the local government, the way they operate, it is germane to have such concerns, because we see that most of the governors have literally pocketed their respective assemblies and their respective states judiciary. So how are we not sure that state police will be pocketed by the governors? And these issues were the same issues that led to why regional policing and the native authorities were cancelled. Because if you look at the Gobia report in 1966, these were the issues that the emirs, the traditional rulers in Yoruba land, the Akodas who became the Olokpas, the Danke Dokas in the north, were used, to suppress, oppositions and opponents. And I don't think a lot has changed since the First Republic, because the governors are still, very, very much, draconian, to beg for a better word, very much draconian, very much intolerant of opposition. And I think that, there's a lot to be concerned about in respect to the fact that now you have statements. I mean, we see what's going on sometimes. Even in Lagos, you see the Nigerian police force, fighting with LASMA. You see that going on. Now you're talking about when they both have guns, when they both share, asymmetric weapons, and how it can go. I think it's something we should really sit down and look at, town hall meetings, stakeholder meetings. There are lots of things we can do. It's a good idea, but I think that there are a lot of reforms, there are a lot of discussions, there are a lot of consultations and engagements with civil society, with professionals, with political class, with ordinary Nigerians that can help us forge a better policy framework, project it better. And I think that if we can do that, it will help. A lot of people have written about this. I mean, you have Professor Tamuno, you have you, Alikema. I mean, we should bring these professionals. We should bring the police personnel. We should bring, ordinary Nigerians. And, we should have discussions around this. And maybe we'll have clarity, at the end of the day, in terms of this concern, in respect to these concerns.
So, some states already operate security outfits. I'm talking about the Western Nigerian Security Network and also the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps. Can these existing structures serve as a foundation for state police?
Well, some people hold the view that it provides that framework upon which a state can build on. I don't think so, because whether it's Neighborhood Watch, whether it's other state security network, I think policing is beyond just wearing uniform and carrying weapons. I think why Nigeria is poorly rated in global ranking in respect to policing is because of poor training, professionalism, lack of resources, lack of funding. Policing takes a lot. It's beyond, it's beyond Neighborhood Watch, and I don't think that framework can be built on. I think in terms of professionalism, in terms of training, in terms of empowerment, capacity, equipment, they need thorough training. They need thorough training to be able to handle the challenges as it presents itself in modern Nigeria.
And also, security experts, they also argue that, the readiness goes way beyond money to include training, oversight, and institutional capacity. So in your view, Damien, is Nigeria prepared on that front?
Nigeria is not prepared on that front. Obviously, we see what has bedeviled the Nigerian police force at the federal level. And is it the Nigerian police force that will babysit the states, the proposed state policing? We see the corruption, the weak institutional capacity, the Nigerian police force. We see, the poor personnel, the lack of personnel. These are a lot of, issues. I think funding is key. And whether we are looking at the United States of America model, where a certain chunk of the revenue goes to policing at the local level, state funding and federal funding. You need funding for state police. Los Angeles budgeted over $2 billion for county policing. Talk about New York, where you have municipals, you have county policing, you have and you have sheriffs. A lot of funding is key. Funding is key, because without funding, how do you go about training? How do you get the best training? How do you get the best welfare? How do you get the best equipment? How do you get the best intelligence? That is on one side. Then on the other side, we are even saying, look, you need more personnel. You just don't need people. You just train them hurriedly and give them weapons. That is not the way. Not the way you're doing it with the forest guards. You need training in developed society where you have efficient police system. If in Africa, talk about you need dedicated people. You need funding. You need training, and that is what can get us out of the woods. Except we just want to pack people and put them there. And we've tried it with the Amotekums, we've tried it with Neighborhood Watch, we've tried it with Vigilante. Where have we headed? We need trained personnel. Welfare. We are not going to be talking about owing salary, pension, and people. We need people because we are going to put sophisticated weapons in their hands. We are going to, they're going to be in charge of our lives and securities and properties. So I think that, there are a lot of things we should sit down and look at. The National Assembly, they are doing a lot, but I think that they should make the conversation more open, more robust, more engaging, so that they can get, the best out of it.
So, still on what reports and also critics are saying, some analysts have proposed a phased out rollout, and that means allowing only states that meet financial and the governance benchmark to establish state police first. Do you agree with this approach?
Well, all states are not the same, and the primary purpose of government is welfare and security of lives and citizens. There are poor states. Even in the US, you have poor states and you have rich states. I mean, you have New York, you have California, you have rich states, and you have poor states too, like North Carolina, so federal government must always come in, one way or the other, to provide that, basic level support system, which is fine. But beyond that is the accountability, the process, the legitimacy, the public trust, the outcomes, how do you follow up on this? What are the institutional framework? For instance, if you are talking about in America, you have sheriffs who head the county, in some counties they are elected to show accountability and transparency. In some counties, the councils, they are elected, and in some counties they are recommended. They are recommended to the mayor. In some countries, you recommend to the president, and the president has to pick out of those recommended. So you see that there are a lot of corruption, there are a lot of institutional gaps, there are a lot of funding gaps, public trust gaps that we have to work on before we can now start talking about, duplicating it in the 36 states of Nigeria. Because what we have now is to duplicate corruption, inefficiency, weak institutional framework, poor funding. That is what will be spread into the 36 states. So I think that, yes, the issue of state policing is key. It's a good idea. But like every good idea, it needs implementation. It needs a framework. It needs enforcement. It needs people. It needs the executive. It needs the legislature. It needs the judiciary. It needs well-meaning Nigerians also to be able to succeed. Only ideas will succeed. Only ideas will work without enforcement, without implementation.
Thank you very much, Damien. It was really good to have you in our conversations this morning on Business Morning Live Show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful day.
All right, we're on to Damien Ajayi. He's a public affairs analyst. And that's it on our conversation this morning. Up next is the social listening. To stay with us.
The government of Japan has donated $853,000 in food assistance to the United Nations Food Programme, WFP, to strengthen humanitarian support for vulnerable communities in northeast Nigeria. According to the WFP, the donation comes at a critical time as millions of people across Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states continue to face severe food insecurities caused by years of conflict, displacements, climate shocks, and rising food prices. The WFP says the funding will help sustain emergency food assistance for families struggling to meet their daily food needs. The organization also noted that food assistance not only addresses hunger, but also helps improve community stability by reducing the risk associated with displacement and insecurity. The agency called on other international partners to support ongoing humanitarian efforts, warning that worsening economic conditions and persistent insecurity continue to increase the number of people in need of assistance. According to the projection by United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and other humanitarian partners, about 34.7 million Nigerians could face acute food insecurity during the 2026 lean season, highlighting the urgent need for sustained international support. Japan's latest contribution will support the WFP's ongoing emergency food assistance program aimed at helping vulnerable households rebuild their lives while easing the humanitarian crisis in northeast Nigeria. As food insecurity continues to threaten millions of lives, sustained collaboration between governments, humanitarian organizations, and development partners will remain essential to addressing immediate needs and building long-term resilience in affected communities.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, BusinessDay presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645-3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo. My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Good morning. You're welcome back to the Business Morning Live, and this is the social listening segment. And of course, you know, if it's sparking conversation, then we are bringing it to your seat. Now, this is where we bring you the stories, debates, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Deborah Eze, and now let's get into what's making waves online. For the first conversation today, MTN Nigeria has restored its extra time service, bringing relief to millions of subscribers who rely on the airtime advance feature during emergencies and periods of low balance. Recall that the service, which allows eligible customers to borrow airtime and repay on the next recharge, was temporarily suspended following the new compliance requirements introduced by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. The company announced the suspension in a notice signed by its company secretary, Uto Ukpana. Now let's see some reactions on social media, how netizens are reacting to this story. Now the first reaction from Nzigwe, and he said they should just make it permanent. People need it more than they think. Another reaction from Evelyn Tate, and he said MTN restoring a service that lets Nigerians borrow airtime they'll repay with interest, framed as emergency relief. Helpful, yes, but borrow credit during emergencies in a country with 30% plus inflation is just monetizing poverty with better branding. And finally, we have Climax, and he said a welcome development. Airtime lending services have been an escape route in many cases. And of course, for many Nigerians, this may seem like a small update, but anyone who's ever run out of airtime in the middle of an important call knows it's a pretty big deal. The restoration of MTN's airtime lending service will come as a welcome relief to millions who rely on it to stay connected, especially during emergencies, like the reason MTN actually gave for, restoring this feature, especially during emergencies or at the end of the month when every naira actually counts. But beyond the excitement, this also highlights just how dependent we've become on telecommunication services. In today's digital world, access to airtime and data isn't just about making calls. We know it's also about doing business, accessing banking services, and attending online classes, and also staying connected to opportunities. So when essential services go offline, the impact is immediate. So hopefully this restoration also comes with greater reliability, because for millions of Nigerians, you and I, staying connected is no longer optional. It's part of our everyday life. Now, on the second conversation today, Tony Elumelu will step down as Group Chairman of United Bank for Africa on August 21st, 2026, after reaching the Central Bank of Nigeria's 12-year tenure limit for non-executive directors. The UBA board has approved the appointment of Emmanuel Norum, currently a non-executive director, as the incoming group chairman. His appointment will take effect on the same date, ensuring a seamless leadership transition. Elumelu's departure marks the end of a transformative era for UBA since assuming the chairmanship in 2014. He has played a pivotal role in expanding the bank's Pan-African footprint, driving strategic growth, strengthening corporate governance, and reinforcing UBA's position as one of Africa's leading financial institutions, with operations in 20 African countries and key global financial centers. Now let's see how netizens are reacting on social media. Now, the first reaction from Daddy is that Tony Elumelu leaves behind a remarkable legacy of leadership, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. His impact on UBA and countless African entrepreneurs will be felt for generations. Wishing him continued success in whatever comes next. Another one from Onye Maubi Chibona, and it said, great leaders know when to build, when to lead, and when to hand over. The legacy of strong institutions outlives any one individual. Congratulations on an impactful tenure. And of course, the final one, we have John Tiemann said, a remarkable chapter comes to an end. His impact on UBA and African entrepreneurship will outlive his tenure, wishing him greater success in his next phase. Of course, 12 years at the helm of one of Africa's biggest financial institutions is no small achievement. Tony Elumelu's retirement as chairman of UBA marks the end of an era that saw the bank expand across the continent and also strengthened its position in African business or banking industry. But perhaps the bigger story here is about corporate governance. Strong institutions are built not just by visionary leaders, but by systems that recognize when it's time for leadership to change hands. In many sectors, we often see individuals holding on to positions indefinitely, and that's why respecting tenure limits sends an important message. And the message is it actually reinforces accountability and succession planning and institutional stability. Leadership isn't only about building an organization, it's also about leaving it strong enough to thrive after you've stepped down. And that's a lesson both public and the private sector can learn from this, and especially the public sector. I really hope they learn from this. Now, finally, on the social listening segment, the final conversation today, the Nigerian police have arrested the father of Prince Adeni Adeyemi, who claims to be the Director General of the disowned Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, PFIPC. Adeyemi's father was arrested alongside a family friend who had visited the home on Monday morning, leaving Adeyemi's elderly mother in distress. The operation, which reportedly took place at the family's residence in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, has sparked criticism from legal practitioners and residents, with allegations that the arrest amount to an unlawful attempt to compel Adeni to surrender himself to law enforcement authorities. But let's see how netizens are reacting to this story. Now, the first reaction from Chineye, and Chineye said, this government is a sham. The fraudulent activity is unprecedented. I'm tired of talking about this government, I beg. And the next reaction from Manasseh Allen, and he said, they keep chasing shadows while the real criminals are safe in the cozy offices. We shall one day get a leader in this country that would set the bar at the right level. Shame. Another reaction from Nyon, and he said, I wish that Nigeria should have a leader that has Chinese blood running in his DNA. Because if it were to be in China, both the fake DG and the president, with all involved in that act, will be in prison waiting for their execution day. And finally, from Ima Patri, and he said, fake DG, but the same fake DG got allocation from the government. From the government, and this Tinubu government and APC are all fraudsters. One more reaction from Omeri, and he said, Nigerian police, why are you arresting the father? So you can lure the DG out so the establishment can get rid of him. Baja should be suspended from office first. Ever since I heard the story, it raises an important question about accountability and the dangers of alleged impersonation or misrepresentation. Now, while the police have made an arrest, it's important to remember that every suspect is entitled to due process, and the facts must be established through proper investigation and the court. Now, beyond the legal process, though, this case is a reminder of how easily people can be misled by impressive titles, the self-proclaimed positions and organizations that may not have legitimate authority. Now, in an age where information spreads rapidly, Nigerians must be careful to verify claims before accepting them as fact. At the same time, law enforcement agencies must continue to act swiftly against anyone accused of misleading the public or exploiting people's trust. Public confidence is built when institutions are transparent, investigations are thorough, and justice is allowed to take its full course. This very unlikely story, the PFIPC, and that's the DG, is still ongoing. We hope, as you know, as the day goes by, everything unfolds, and then we're brought on clear speed. And that's a wrap on the conversation this morning on the Social Listening, and this is where we bring a close to the Business Day morning live. Thank you for sticking with us from 8 a.m. up until 11 a.m. It's not 11 a.m. yet, but yeah, up until this time. Thank you so much. Until we come your way again tomorrow, my name is Deborah Eze. Have a beautiful morning.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
This particular event is focused on women in the arts. The Delphic movement, in collaboration with Whisker, is focused on arts, culture, and the creative economy, both for men and for women. And we're here today talking about trying to identify the barriers and the constraints and the gaps that exist for women in the sector, trying to ensure that that talent, that rich talent, that creativity that exists within our women folk is totally unleashed, so that they can really thrive, they can build businesses, and they can contribute more significantly to the Nigerian economy.
I think from a inclusion perspective, leadership perspective, and the role of arts in terms of economic value creation, that's really what I take home from here. But also the fact that we need to systemize the way we work. It comes out of individual initiatives, but you need to take it to the next level to build strategies and systems in order to kind of make it more autonomous and also detach it a bit from the individual perspective. It's been a fantastic gathering of thought leaders, people in the corporate sector, people who are involved in the arts. The conversations were very interesting, and I think the most important thing is that we're all looking for ways to create wealth for people in the art space. And in doing this, the more conversations we have, bringing more people to the table, hopefully there'll be more traction in terms of creating wealth for people that are involved in the creative arts.
Culture can be very healing, and when you have an organization like this that is global, then we can have those global conversations. Sometimes the conversations can be uncomfortable, but even if they are uncomfortable, we will look at all the complexities and bring them out in a way that hopefully we will be able to have those conversations, being honest but being empathetic as well.
Well, I think I just said to them, I think it's just about how do we collaborate, right? How do we find ways to be intentional about bringing more women into this sector, to give them more pathways to express themselves, and to bring out what lies within. As they say, women are the bedrock of the home, and no matter what you do, everybody has a mother somewhere. And I think that they're the ones that transmit culture, they transmit that energy to their children, and that's the way we want to really engage. So for me, women is a natural thing, and you see it every day in this sector: film, music, fashion, food, hair and beauty, everything. The women are leading in every section. So I think it's a good time for the ladies.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business. As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question. You'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
The government of Japan has donated $853,000 in food assistance to the United Nations Food Program, WFP, to strengthen humanitarian support for vulnerable communities in northeast Nigeria. According to the WFP, the donation comes at a critical time as millions of people across Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states continue to face severe food insecurities caused by years of conflict, displacements, climate shocks, and rising food prices. The WFP says the funding will help sustain emergency food assistance for families struggling to meet their daily food needs. The organization also noted that food assistance not only addresses hunger, but also helps improve community stability by reducing the risk associated with displacement and insecurity. The agency called on other international partners to support ongoing humanitarian efforts, warning that worsening economic conditions and persistent insecurity continue to increase the number of people in need of assistance. According to the projection by United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, and other humanitarian partners, about 34.7 million Nigerians could face acute food insecurity during the 2026 lean season, highlighting the urgent need for sustained international support. Japan's latest contribution will support the WFP's ongoing emergency food assistance program aimed at helping vulnerable households rebuild their lives while easing the humanitarian crisis in northeast Nigeria. As food insecurity continues to threaten millions of lives, sustained collaboration between governments, humanitarian organizations, and development partners will remain essential to addressing immediate needs and building long-term resilience in affected communities.